Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at Phobos. Phobos is an external plugin that can be used in Blender to convert your CAD models into URGF. There are different tools, different CAD tools that you can use for robotics. You can use Blender, you can use Fusion 360, SolidWorks, Autodesk softwares. It's very common to see people designing their CAD models using Blender and then use Phobos to convert it to URDF. You can also create a ROS package from it and simulate it using Gazebo or any other software that you use. So in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to set up Phobos and how to convert a CAD design in Blender to URDF, export it, create a ROS package from it, and also visualize it using RFace and Gazebo. So to get started, I want to mention that if you are using Windows or Linux, this might be a little bit different. And whenever there's anything you have to take notes, depending on your operating system, I'm going to be mentioning that. So you can just search for Phobos in your web browser, maybe Phobos Blender, and then you'll be directed to the original version of Phobos. If you look through this website, there's some things that we have to take notes. If you look at the years, you see that it has been taught for quite a long time. This is 3 years ago, 2 years ago. The minimum there I see is 2 years ago. Now, if you look through this documentation, you will see the very first thing here says Phobos is both a CLI tool and add-on for open source 3D modeling software, Blender version 3.3 LTS. But in recent time, there are higher versions of Blender. Currently, 2026, there's Blender version 5.0. So if you install directly from this site, you might not be able to use Blender, especially if you're using a much more higher version like 4.5 points. So what I will do here is that if you scroll to the top and click on, I want to just walk you through some of this in case you are trying to do this on your own. If you go to pull request, and there's some community notes here. The second one says community fork Blender 4.x 5.0 compatible version available. So I'll just click here. So this is not the original Phobos work. This is just some fork that was created by the community, and then further works were done on it to support version 4.5 above 5.0. So if you check here on what's been done, you have Blender 4.x 5.0, full support for Blender 4.2 Plus extension system. You can still read through this. So what I will do is I'll just go to the repository. Now this is the modern repository for the recent Phobos edition. You can see this is quite recent. I'm recording this video in January of 2026, and you can see, unlike the other one that has been worked on 3 years ago, this is currently being developed. You can see 3 months ago. So to start with, there are still a lot of issues with this, I'm going to say, and I'm going to be mentioning this because while trying to set this up myself, I encounter a lot of issues. So I'll try to talk about some of those issues I encountered, how I solved them, and how you can also solve them. So to install this, if you scroll down, there's an installation method. It says installation for Blender 4.2 5.0. The recommended is to use the extension system. And if you check, the first option is to download the extension package. It says download extension, download elastic.ventures phobos 4.zip from the release page. What you normally do is to click on the release page and hopefully to see the zip file. But it turns out that there are no zip files here at all. So again, these are some of the issues you face. Maybe when you are trying to do this on your own, it must have been solved, but that is not going to be a problem. I'll just click to the back and use the second method. So the second method is to build from source, download the whole repository and run the code python 3 build extensions.py. And after this, it's going to create a dist/this in our repository. I have not walked through the other method because this second method works for me. But again, if you want to explore and see how this works, you can always check other method. So what I will do is just to download the zip version of this. So I'll not do this again. Once it's done downloading, you can simply go to your installation folder. So coming to where I have it downloaded. So here I have Phobos 4.0, and this is the build extension.py. So I open this in terminal and simply run Python 3 build extension.py. So I'm not going to run this again, but after running this, you're going to have a folder created in the base folder, which is called dist. So click on dist, and then you're going to have this Phobos for zip. So this was what was supposed to be available under the release page, which wasn't available, and then we have it Phobos for zip. Now, if you are on Windows, you can run through that method without any problem. Download the repository, run Python 3 build extension.py. But if you are on Linux, if you are using Blender for Linux, this method is not going to work. Even if you try to create the zip file, it's not going to import into Blender on Linux. And I'm going to show you the reason why it's not going to work. If you click on the build extension.py, as it's available on the base repository, this whole thing was configured to only works on Windows. The way the file system was built was meant to work on Windows. And again, if you check through this part, it's supposed to download some Python wheels. You see that everything here is all configured for Windows. You can see if you see platform, it says Win AMD 64. So if you run this on Linux, it's not going to work because the platform is Linux, not Windows 64. So what I did was that I modified a whole lot of things, which I'm not going to be going through all of them in this tutorial, but you can find this in the Git logs. So I created a new fork of this old repository. I have a new fork now, which I call Phobos 4.0 Linux. And you can again walk through the same process if you're on Linux, and this is going to work. Again, if you're on Windows, you can just follow through the original Phobos community fork and everything's going to work fine. But if you're on Linux, you might have to fork my own version of the repository. And yeah, you can simply go through the same step of cloning the repository or downloading the zip and then running Python 3 build extension.py. It's going to create again the dist folder, and inside the dist folder there will be a zip file there. But what I did in this case was that I created a release version for this. In case you don't want to go through all that, you can just click on release and then you can download the Phobos for zip file. Once you do that, you'll be good to go. Now we're going to be adding Phobos to Blender. So I'll just open up my Blender. So once you open up Blender, you can add Phobos by simply going to file. By simply going to edit, preferences, and you can either use the extensions or add-on. I'm going to use the get extensions. Click on this drop down and there will be an option that says install from disk. So you can click install from disk and then go to where the Phobos is downloaded on your PC. So for me, it's in downloads. The new version I just did was Phobos 4.0. Again, this is going to be Phobos Linux if you are using Linux, and if you are using Windows, it's going to be just this Phobos, this, and then this. So once you click on this, you can install from this. I'm not going to be doing this again because I already have it installed on my Blender. So once you have that, everything should run normally without any problem. In case if you're experiencing any importing problem in this step, please put a comment in this video and I'll do well to check it and even modify the code if possible. I'm not sure, maybe in the future versions of Blender this method might not work again, but I'll keep an eye out, and if you see any problem at all, maybe using another version of Blender and this method is not working, just let me know. So once Phobos has been installed, you can restart Blender. I'm not really sure if this is a must. Once you restart Blender, you can just click on N to show the set panel, and if you see, you're going to see items, tools, view, and Phobos. So just select Phobos and then you're going to be seeing all the Phobos options. So once you have this set up, once you have this showing up on your laptop, yeah, you are good with Phobos installation. And now you can go ahead and design a simple card and do some other things there and export it as a URDF.